Recognized for questions.
I cannot agree to vote for a full increase in the debt without any assurance that steps will be taken to reduce the alarming increase in the deficits and the debt. Joe Biden, 1984, when the debt was $1.5 trillion. Here we sit. Here we sit. Heard a lot about the process. Make no mistake about it, as I think the Chairman Away has said and others, it'd be my strong preference for the provisions of this legislation that have not gone through committee to go through committee. That'd be my preference. What we have right now is a president of the United States that refuses to sit down and do anything serious about the debt ceiling at all. Gives vague notions of a, quote, clean debt ceiling, as if that's remotely responsible for the American people. We know full well it is not. It's a sham. So it is Republicans who are having to do the work that Democrats refuse to do. Period. Full stop. And when we are doing that, yes, there are some bills that have not yet gone through committee, despite that having been my preference. But let's remember what the legislation is in front of us. The text of the bill has been available since last Wednesday, certainly publicly available since Friday, more than 72 hours per our rules. Of the 20 debt ceiling increases since 2000, only 2 have been reported out of committee. Not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying those are the facts. H.R. 1 went through full regular order and is, in fact, passed off the House floor. The REINS Act, which did not go to committee, and I would have preferred that it would have, passed this body with bipartisan support in 2017 in its current form. The spending repeals are effectively cuts, just straight up clean cuts. For the IRA, which, by the way, when we passed the IRA, there were 158 proxy votes jammed through in August when we were forced to fly back because the speaker didn't give a damn about regular order or process. I had to leave for my vacation, come back and leave my family, whom I barely see, get on a flight and come here because I wasn't going to proxy vote. So I came up here, did my job, and voted against it. But there were 158 who did God knows what and didn't show up here to do their job. We passed the IRS repeal in January. It went through this floor. And we're repealing something that was in that IRA, which was passed with that awful process last August. The COVID funds are a simple, clean repeal, which we've talked about and I'll come back to in a minute. The caps are simple. These are things we've done repeatedly. The work requirements are based on the 1996 welfare reforms that President Biden supported under President Clinton. He said then, the culture of welfare must be replaced with the culture of work. The culture of dependence must be replaced with the culture of self-sufficiency and personal responsibility. And the culture of permanence must no longer be a way of life. The fiscal year 23 omnibus was a $1.7 trillion bill that was 4,100 pages long, released in the dead of night at 1:30 in the morning before the Senate voted and 226 members voted by proxy. It is under litigation now because of its dubious constitutionality. So I don't want to hear people crying me a river about process, because what we're talking about is undoing the damage of an irresponsible Democratic House of Representatives that jammed through legislation without a whit's concern for those of us who are trying to have a say in what it was. This legislation is available. There is hardly anything new in it. And if you don't like the cuts, vote against the cuts. And that's fine. But what we're trying to do is return this to the American people. Our options in front of us are pretty simple. You can tax. Lord knows my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would love to tax more. Borrow, print money while pretending that you're saying that it's borrowing, or we deal with discretionary spending or mandatory spending. Those are our options. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle would like to tax more. Well, guess what? Right now, we're at 19.6% of GDP in tax revenue. Only 3 times in history has it been that high. Right now, 2000, at the end of the dot-com boom, after Republican control helped create an environment where we were constraining spending and creating economic growth, and President Clinton worked with us to do it, and World War II. 3 times where revenue has been where it is today. Yet my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say we have a revenue problem. Bull. They think we have a revenue problem because they think government creates jobs. It doesn't. People create jobs. Small businesses create jobs. Big businesses create jobs. Government does not create jobs. And at 19.6% revenue, I don't know why we would be saying we need more taxes for more revenue, other than the irresponsibility of a government out of control spending money we don't have. That's the actual fact.